hoping for peace, don't get your hopes up. And I'm going to close it off with Habakkuk chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 4. Behold, his soul, and it's speaking of Esau, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. And this brings us full circle back to Psalms 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. Their souls are not upright in them. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. But the just shall live by his faith. And the just is speaking of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true children of Israel. But right now, it's only referring to the elect, the 144,000 and righteous 1/3 who have heard this new song and have come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Verse 5. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, and that wine is referring to his philosophies, such as democracy, which is another big deception that Esau uses to get into these countries, because what's the thing you always hear? Oh, these countries have a despotic dictator as their leader. We got to go in there and give these people democracy, when really they're just going in to ransack their resources and set up a puppet government. And what always happens when the U.S. brings a so-called democracy? You've got feminism that breaks up the family, and homosexuality that leads to further degenerates in that country and just completely turns it into a failed state. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, going to all these different countries around the world, such as Iraq and Afghanistan, to plunder their resources, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And that's speaking of that new world order Esau's trying to bring about, with one government, one currency, which is going to be that mark of the beast RFID microchip, and one religion. A whole world of people thinking the same, being like sodomitish Edomites. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe or destruction to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And you're seeing that now. All these nations around the world are starting to buck up to the U.S. Of course, you've got Iran and North Korea, but even you've got the U.S.'s allies starting to buck up against them. You've got South Korea trying to reunite with the North outside of the U.S.'s influence. You've got those Okinawans protesting U.S. bases on their land. You've even got Japan and Pakistan trying to find ways to get around the U.S. dollar, which is what all these countries are trying to do, is to circumvent that dollar. And once that dollar loses its value, it's kaput for the U.S. economy. And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, and when you go into that word for clay, it means pledges or debts. And the U.S. is an empire based off of debt. They go into these different countries, wreck them, and then bring in their U.S. corporations to rebuild the country. And then since these countries' currency isn't as strong as the U.S. dollar, they spend their whole time trying to pay back these companies for rebuilding their country, even when it was the U.S. who destroyed their country in the first place. A good book to go to dealing with that is Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, all those countries in Central and South America, and even Gad, or the so-called Native Americans in the North American landmass. They came here, killed them off, and stole their land, and spoiled them. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. And that remnant is first and foremost speaking of the elect. Again, the 144,000 and righteous 1/3, who are going to be saved in the last days during Jacob's trouble, and are going to get the first fruits of you heathens, chiefly you Edomites. Yahweh willing, I'm of that number, because I want to get you heathens back so bad and take back what y'all stole from us. Verse 9, Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house. He gathereth unto him all peoples, and his desire is as hell. And when we go to that word for covetousness, it's just beautiful. It's right on topic.
Strong's H 1215. Betsai.
Profit, unjust gain, gain, profit, or profit acquired by violence. Esau going into these other countries saying he's bringing democracy when he's really coming to plunder their resources through deceit. Verse 10, Salakia, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, the Iraqis, the Iranians, the Syrians, the Afghanistanis, so-called Native Americans, which are the tribe of Gad. The list goes on, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. And all Esau's ever gotten, chiefly the U.S., is by they've always ever gotten it by building it off the blood of the native peoples of that land, first and foremost off of Gad, and then with these other countries, going into Iraq, bombing that country to smithereens, setting up a puppet government and trying to steal their oil resources. For that, you Edomites are about to get a foot through your ass, and it's going to be a beautiful thing to see Yahweh Bashim Yahushai take you damn devils down. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. We're at the door of the end of this final captivity and the beginning of our eternal salvation. So with that, I'm going to say a Baba Ball, Kwam Yasharala. Until next time, Shalom.